Hey everybody, this is Denny.
And this is James from TeaDB.org, bringing you guys another episode. And today we're going to be covering another Japanese Shincha tea.
Cool. So this is episode 11. Let's dive right into it. James, I don't know anything about this tea. Why don't we, let's talk about it.
Yep, so this is an offering from Den's Tea. And it's their most expensive Shincha, and it's quite good, but it's quite difficult to brew, and it's called the Hashiri Sencha. So I'm probably butchering that a little bit, which is perfectly normal for us. But it's quite a good tea, and it has this really, really delicious aftertaste to it. So for this tea, you have to really pay attention to how the taste kind of evolves within your mouth.
Cool. Just looking at the leaves, the color of the leaves are beautiful. It's really, really forest green, deep green color. It's gorgeous, and the smell is sweet and a little floral. It's wonderful. So, how much tea do you have weighed out here?
Yeah, so we have about 6 grams of tea weighed out, and this kyusu, this Japanese teapot, can accommodate up to 9 ounces, but we're gonna go. We're not gonna go all the way. We're gonna do about 6 ounces here. So the ratio is gonna be about 1 to 1.
Okay. And last time we did 0.75 to 1, so should we expect a kind of a heartier, more full-bodied brew, or will we expect the same thing? What do you think?
I'm going a little bit off of the vendor's recommended brewing parameters, and if there's one thing I've learned from Dan over at Dan's Tea is he likes his tea bold and strong.
Okay.
So we might be getting a little bit more bitterness out of it because we're going to be using very similar steep times and temperatures and simply more leaf. So we're going to just be extracting a little bit more flavor out of that.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right.
So how hot are we going to get this water?
Yeah, so for Japanese greens, like we covered in the last couple episodes, it's really important to kind of hit a pretty low temperature point. Chinese greens, you can go kind of anywhere from 160 to 190 or even 200 degrees. And some Chinese brewing methods will even go all the way up to boiling for some of their greens. But for Japanese teas, you got to be really, really careful. So we're going to about 160, 165 degrees. And the vendor actually recommends a slightly higher temperature, and I've experimented with both temperatures, and I kind of like this lower temperature a little bit more. So we're going to be preheating all of our teaware again.
Today was a particularly cold day in the afternoon in Seattle, and we walked over to James's place, and I was shivering, so I'm really excited to drink tea. Not that I haven't been drinking tea all day, as would be the case, but I'm excited for this cup, so and it should be a departure from what I've been drinking overall. So.
Yeah. It's always quite a treat to have the Japanese Shincha season, as it's a very seasonal thing just to be able to get these teas so fresh. Alright, so there we are, and I have a little bit of a bucket down here I'm going to dump this water back into. Alright, so now we will pour our leaves in. And we're going to get a delicious smell. So this will just kind of lightly cook the leaves because we preheated the kyusu. And so you don't want to let your leaves sit in there for too long, but anywhere from like 15 seconds to a minute is totally fine. And so we're going to be brewing for about a minute. And so, like I said, I'm not going to heat the kyusu all the way. Or fill it up all the way. So we're filling it about to 2/3 capacity right there, so about 6 ounces. So we're getting about that 1-to-1 ratio, which is really important.
And you've experimented with brewing this tea in other different ways. What's happened with the different styles of brewing that you've used so far?
Right. So as you raise the temperature, you're going to get a bolder or more bitter flavor, which is kind of what Den recommends, but you're going to lose out on kind of that really, really nice, flavorful aftertaste. So even varying the temperature as much as a small amount as like 5 degrees, you're going to notice dramatic kind of taste profiles and differences in the steepings.
Interesting.
Yep. So this is a very important tea to just experiment a lot with the brewing parameters, and it's quite expensive. So, so do that at your own risk.
And why is it so expensive?
It is because it's done from a very, very high quality tea farm in Japan, and Japan, as opposed to China, tends to be kind of a slightly higher end country, just in general, and because this tea just is so seasonal and so specialized.
Absolutely. I was going to say that just by virtue of this being such a fresh product, getting it from the tea farm to our plate, or in this case, table, in the United States from Japan, it's a process that needs to be considered. This is an exported good. So, interesting. So actually, if you look at the brew here,
Yep.
you can see the different color a little bit. So I'm definitely just off that one sip. That's really cool, actually, because I got that almost astringent mouthfeel of the bitterness, but it didn't knock me over at all. In fact, it was just momentary, which is interesting. It was like just right there, and just from that one sip, the flavor is absolutely lasting.
Yeah. I think I'm getting probably a bit more of a lighter brew. It'll be interesting to have you taste the remainder of this tea, because my tea was kind of the paler color, and my tea doesn't have a ton of bitterness or astringency to it, and it's much lighter, and it's kind of similar to the Chiron Sencha we tasted last time from Ocha. Mm-hmm. But it's still very, very flavorful, and it's kind of got that typical grassy green flavor to the flavor profile.
Definitely. I'm also getting a little bit of off of the smell and aroma, a little bit of a kind of a creamy sweetness.
Definitely.
Maybe almost like a milk oolong, but
yeah,
it's
that's an interesting comparison.
Not too much, but
yeah, it doesn't quite have the same body that you can get out of some of the great Taiwanese milk oolongs. This is much lighter, but that's a really good comparison as far as like sweetness and creaminess go.
Quite wonderful, and the temperature is so low that this is, drink it quickly is what I would recommend.
Definitely. Drink this before it goes lukewarm. Mm-hmm. And we're so used to drinking kind of the higher temperatures of, like, we've been drinking a lot of pu'er today. So, it's quite a contrast to that.
The light brew is definitely different. Not that note of bitterness at the very front of it, not getting that nearly as much. But I wouldn't say it's underbrewed, actually, interestingly. It'd be interesting if had these two together incorporated a little more. And just, oh gosh, the color is unbelievable. Yeah. It's opened up, it's a little less dark green, and now it's just this, it just looks like matcha, except for not powdered.
So we're increasing the temperature ever so slightly here. Okay. I'd say probably by 6 or 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. So we'll probably be brewing at around 170. And we're going to be, again, filling the Kyushu up to the same level.
So this is a wonderful tea on a day like today. It's a little bit overcast and cloudy and a little rainy. Strange. Who would have thought in Seattle, right? When would you tend to recommend drinking this tea? And what kind of occasion, or maybe even weather or season? What do you think?
Well, now's the perfect time, seeing how this is a seasonal tea and it's spring right now. But I would say, in the afternoon would be a perfect time, kind of when we're filming this. Mm-hmm. It's a good tea to have, and like a lot of people, green teas tend to upset their stomach. So having it, later on in the day rather than right when you wake up might be a good idea for some people. But you should see what your body tells you and really respond to that.
Definitely, I tend to be a strong responder to green teas specifically. So, and that doesn't matter how I'm brewing it. Frankly, I don't know why, but this is a wonderful tea for the afternoon, and it's got kind of like, I'm not quite immersed yet in the sort of the energy I'm getting off of it, but it's warming. I'm not feeling like I'm going all out like I might was drinking a bunch of pu'er at once or something like that. Wow. Okay.
So we're going to definitely be getting kind of a more bitter flavor, I would say, from this. And you can see that small amount of temperature difference made such a dramatic impact. And I was shooting for a very similar brewing time. So the difference is simply that this is a second steeping and the temperature is ever so slightly increased. But let's see how this tastes.
And the color has just exploded in this
Definitely.
In this tea here. Getting much more of that neon yellow, neon green color. Quite nice. Okay, cheers.
This is very, very different from my perspective. It's definitely got kind of a more. It's definitely got more of a mouthfeel to it, as well as more of a body. I wouldn't say it's quite as full-bodied as the Taiwanese milk oolong or anything like that yet, but it definitely has that kind of lingering aftertaste for me, especially because I got kind of the light end of that previous brew.
Totally agree. So with the second steeping, I'm really getting the kind of bitterness at the front of it, front of the taste. I'd say that the form of this tea, if we wanted to end up talking about that a little bit, has definitely grown or evolved. So whereas before it was sort of a shorter lasting, leaner taste, and it's kind of hard to describe, but the effect of the flavors on my mouth and the taste, the strength of the taste themselves weren't nearly peaking as much. And now it's a much longer, full-bodied, more viscous tea.
Yeah, and for me, the flavors of this tea just sit kind of on the roof of my mouth. And I'm still able to, I don't know, experience this tea even now, quite a while after I've taken a sip.
Mm-hmm. And just that 5 or 6 degree temperature change, huge difference.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, people that love brewing parameters love brewing Japanese green teas because there's so much to explore just in terms of steep time, leaf to water ratio, and all that stuff.
Cool. So where can someone learn more about this tea, James?
Yeah, so you can learn more about this tea and kind of Japanese Shincha and Senchas that we've been covering in the last 3 episodes on TeaDB.org. There's some great stuff on there. You can buy this tea at denstea.com. They're based in the U.S., so you can get really fast shipping, and I've had great experiences with most of their offerings so far. You can also buy this great little kyusu, which is a great starter kyusu, for about $19 there. So I'd highly recommend them just as a tea company and a great place to get started as far as Japanese green tea is concerned.
Fantastic. Well, that wraps up our series of Japanese green teas. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and feel free to check us out next time.
All right, thanks for watching, guys.
See you.